going on, people? Welcome back to 888sport Football Friday Live. My name is Uizzy, and I'm delighted that you could join us for what is bound to be a footballing bonanza. We have an all-star studded cast in the building, including Chelsea striker and England legend, Eni Aluko. Welcome aboard. Fantastic to have you here.
Thank you very much.
We have also got David Priest, fresh from a week's worth of house parties, after David Moyes actually got the better of Marco Silva's whole incredible scenes, and a guy who's been missing for about a week and doesn't reply to any of my text messages since Arsenal FC beat Manchester United. It's Richie Driss on the social. Lads, ladies, I am delighted to have you all here. I hope everyone's doing well. Let's have a look and see exactly what we've got coming up on today's show, which includes Manchester United scraping through into the Europa League. Is it Europa Cup? I don't know, because I don't deal with Thursdays, boys. But they're into the final. Champions League qualification is on the doorstep, as it were. Chelsea are also on the brink of a title. We've got all the latest transfer news and the press conferences as they happened. Let's have a closer look at what's coming up.
What is your car?
The engine blew. Yeah, I drove it really hard at the start and it just went boom.
Might one day acknowledge the job he did in helping to create the environment where Jose Mourinho could come along and do his thing, before Jose Mourinho did his other thing.
Who are your Arsenal heroes?
Kelly Smith and Thierry Henry.
So imagine this is Thierry Henry. You're recreating Thierry Henry's goal against Manchester United, where he flicked it up
The flick.
and volleyed it.
Now, as per usual, we want you guys to get involved in the show and with news on how you can do that and more. It's Richie on the social.
It is. Thank you very much, Hugh. Now, after what can only be described as the most dead, boring, pointless testimonial of an Arsenal-Man United match that no one cares about,
Pull it up.
last week, we want to know who would you love to see miss out on the top four. And you'll notice that Man United aren't even included in this, because what's the point? So if you're involved on Facebook, hit the laughing face for Arsenal, hit the sad face for Liverpool, the wow face for Manchester City as well. And get involved on Twitter using the hashtag 888FFL.
And David, let's just quickly kick off with who you think is actually going to miss out on top four.
Probably Arsenal.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping to anyway. I hope they do anyway. So we can have something to talk about next week or the week after.
I can't even look at you right now. I'm sorry. Any top four? Who do you think is going to miss out?
Sorry, Hugh, I'm going to have to say
Yeah!
Arsenal as well. And the reason I think that is because I actually think it's going to be a blessing in disguise for the club. I think the club need something that's going to catapult change, whatever it may be, whether it's change of players, change of manager. I think Arsenal for the last 16 years have just been plodding along, making top four, and actually, you know, got a lot of frustrated fans, and not making top four is going to change something, hopefully.
Hashtag Wenger out.
I mean, look, I've still got faith.
But I just think it, you know, it needs a shake up, and I think not making top four is going to do that.
And Noor Hafiz Shamadi has made a very good point. Arsenal FC, there's no point in them getting into the Champions League because they'll get knocked out of the round of 16 anyway.
Fair comment.
Good point.
Moving swiftly on. Last night, Manchester United did scrape through. It was a draw, and they were very lucky, as far as I'm concerned, to get themselves into the final. Guidetti with a last minute. I mean, should he be putting that away? Should he have even been passed to? Or should his man next to him, he should have been finishing it for me 5 yards out. Jose Mourinho, however, has come out and said that his season is not dependent on winning this trophy to be considered a success. I've got to say I disagree. I'm sure the panel have their thoughts as well. Let's listen to exactly what the manager had to say.
I don't feel like that. I don't want the players to feel like that. I don't think the board feels like that, because we work very hard. We worked very hard. I probably worked this season harder than ever. But if I was in your side, if I was in your chair, makes...
It's fair that we
Yeah.
do think like that.
Yeah, I think it is. If I was in your side, and you are always looking for this kind of capital letters, big headlines, I accept if you say that.
I mean, he's full of excuses, he's borderline delusional, and he's playing this pity card, which, quite frankly, I'm slightly tired of, Jose. You've spent £250 million, you're meant to be the biggest club in the country, possibly even the world, and you're talking like the Champions League isn't important. Guys, can we just raise awareness as to how off-point he is trying to throw these fans?
Jose Mourinho is doing the best impression of Jose Mourinho, with just a little bit more bitterness.
Incredible.
That I've ever seen.
Yep.
I mean, you're right when you say it. I think it is dependent on that. You know, when it's they can attract players without Champions League. They don't need Champions League for financial reasons. They can live without it. They don't need the money. But just for the Manchester United, they need to be in there. And I think that, you know, I know he's on about winning trophies, and that's important because at the end of the season, you know, you look at what you've won, not whether you've come in second or third place to qualify. But still, I think he has to win this and get into the Champions League.
Money is obviously no object to this club. They're paying Zlatan Ibrahimovic £370,000 a week, plus a whole host of other talents top whack. But are those players going to be satisfied playing on Thursday nights anymore? I mean, surely it's delusional to even suggest that it would be a success, regardless of the fact that they brought in the Worthington Coca-Cola milk Littlewoods thing, you know? The Mickey Mouse.
I think playing on Thursdays, Sundays, I mean, Jose Mourinho has already made loads of excuses about it. You see the flip side of it, Chelsea not being in Europe, how it's improved them. But I think, you know, for Manchester United being one of the biggest clubs in the world, they have to be looking to win the Europa Cup to get into the Champions League. Jose Mourinho is doing what Jose Mourinho does, and he's taking pressure off his players because he's setting himself up. In the event they don't win, then he's setting himself up for eventual failure. But I think actually if they win the Europa Cup, it will be a very, very successful season, comparable with Chelsea. With Chelsea on the mark to win 2 trophies, Manchester United would have won 2 as well.
Yeah, he's even got all his disciples talking the same way as him.
Disciples?
Yeah.
Who are they?
Well, like Ander Herrera, he got an interview last night and he mentioned the schedule 4 times.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's going to a club that's going to be vying for every cup that it goes into. What do you expect, a holiday? It's true, though.
Lost here. Let's just move on to a couple of players. Look, Richie is really struggling with this United talk. I mean, to be quite frank, the Premier League season's over. They've given up.
I agree.
They've been forced to give up because they've become so ingrained in that 6th place position that he's really had to look elsewhere.
It is where we live. And do you know what I've completely forgot to mention? That the only good thing about the match on Sunday was what Jose Mourinho came out and said afterwards. But it's nice to see the Arsenal fans smiling, because I always make them cry.
Anything you can get today.
Absolutely, I've got to.
In all seriousness, though, Wayne Rooney is subject to a lot of speculation right now. It's quite possible that he is in, I think, the last year of his contract. So
come last year, yeah.
He could want to see out the deal at United. He may not be playing as much football as he'd like, but he is obviously subject to a lot of offers. I would suggest China is probably one of them. It's an option. Do you see, 1, Rooney staying, and 2, what would you do if you were in that position?
I think I've said before that the money in wherever he wants to go afterwards, whether it's China or America or wherever, the money will always be there. You know, I mean, what's the difference between earning 300,000, 400,000 somewhere else, or 200,000? It's always going to be there for him. But winning Premier League titles and trying to prove himself again. I mean, he can probably turn around and say, I don't have to prove myself to anybody. But there's a lot of people writing him off, and if I was in his shoes, I'd want to prove those people wrong. And you look at the games now. I mean, the games that they're playing, that they're drawn, like last night, there were 2 games against Celta Vigo. They should have been home and hosed comfortably. All right, Alvarez in goal for Celta had a hell of a game, 2 games. Culpable maybe for the 2 goals, perhaps, yeah. But overall, he had a great 2 games, great semi-final. So they're creating the chances. But where are the goals coming from? And you think, you know, they've got Rooney on the bench. Why is he not turning to him? There's a reason why he's not turning to him.
Because he's finished. Is it over?
I don't know about
He's not
that.
finished.
I don't know about
Okay, I'd like to hear it, because, you know, Rooney is someone who shot onto the scene at a young age, much in the same way as you did, playing similar type of roles. If you were there and you were going through what he's been going through over the last year or so, what would you be doing?
I think it, for someone like Rooney, the pressure's off. You know, I think he doesn't have anything to prove. We're talking about, we're talking about a guy who's the record scorer for England.
Yeah.
We're talking about a guy who's made over 100 caps. Was one of the youngest ever players to score in the Premier League. Like, this is Wayne Rooney, and I think for us as fans, we need to respect him a bit more, because I think he gets stick for the sake of getting stick sometimes. And I think the pressure's off him. If the manager, at the end of the day in football, you've got no control over whether the manager wants to play you or not, even when you're playing well.
Right.
So I think for Rooney now, it is about just taking pressure off himself, playing when he plays, try and play well, try and help the team. If not, then you're still Wayne Rooney. I think a lot of the time there is a lot of focus on players having to prove themselves. He's already done that. And yeah, you need to keep performing, but you can only perform when you're on the pitch. You can't perform from the bench, So I think there's pressures off him.
Do you not think though, when you get to that standard? I mean, you look at somebody like Ryan Giggs. He's the benchmark for producing year after year, and adapting to getting older as well. I still think you've got to prove yourself to, we know what he can do, we know what he's done, but at the same time, I still think he can go out week after week and just make sure that he's at that level. Because
no, I agree with you.
Because, I mean, like we just said, what would you do in his position now?
There's nothing he can do, because it's not his decision to play. If the manager wants to put confidence in him and put him on the pitch, then yes, it's up to him to perform. But if the beginning of the season, it was very much Wayne Rooney's going to be coming off the bench. Now that he can't control that, So I think when players get to a certain age, you do have to adapt to being a player that's not going to play week in, week out. Some players like it, some players don't. Steven Gerrard at Liverpool wasn't having it, so he went to America. So you have to adapt now. It's up to Wayne Rooney now to be a good sub, to be a player that's an impact player off the bench. It's for me, it's more about the adaptation as opposed to trying to prove everybody wrong. It's Wayne Rooney.
So I know he maybe he's not in the same position as Wayne Rooney sort of in your sort of stage of your career, but have you felt you've had to change your game the older that you've got, and how?
Well, I mean, I'm only 30. I still see
You
it as,
tell him.
I still see.
Tell him.
I don't believe in all this. Age is, you finish when you get to. Look, it's about performance. You look at Cristiano.
Zlatan.
You look at Cristiano Ronaldo, 32.
Right.
Scoring 10 goals in 11 games, and that's Cristiano. That's maybe an exception, but Zlatan, 34, scoring. Who would have thought he'd come in and score as many goals as he did? So I think you've got to take care of your body more so than ever, and you've got to perform. But for me, it's about, when you do get to a certain age, you've got young players behind you, you're not going to play every game. So it's about then adapting and saying, right, okay, when I'm on the pitch, I'm going to be able to maximise performance. I think it's more of a mental thing as opposed to physical.
Yeah, and I think that's what maybe is what I mean. Sometimes we play devil's advocate, but I think that's what some people's argument is, that these players are still doing it, yet Wayne isn't. And, and that's why they ask the questions.
Yeah.
See, my only reservation with the whole Rooney thing is, when he first burst onto the scene, he was so much about the tenacity, the aggression, he just unwilling to ever give up. If he lost the ball, he was getting it back. And that kind of work ethic is obviously something that he's going to have to, adapt, so that he can either sit back or so that he's pinging passes or whatever it is. We know he's capable of doing some extraordinary things because we've seen it. But is it now time for Manchester United as a whole to move on? I think that in the case of Zlatan, it's great to have a player like that for the dressing room, for the confidence of the younger guys, to teach them, to give them that education of experience and whatnot. But is he in some way holding Rashford and the likes back? So I think maybe the same question has to be asked of Rooney. However, moving on and sticking with Manchester United, last night we had just 94th, 95th minute drama in Manchester City's loanee, John Guidetti, who was basically 3 or 4 yards out. Looked to be a little bit of a tap in. Please, Annie, tell me you would have buried that.
You know what? I'm gonna be a bit strikers union here and say
You're sticking up for the guy.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
you could say it should have been a goal, but
Right.
when you look at it technically, it's come to him so quickly.
Very quickly, yeah.
His feet aren't set. If he was running onto it, it's an easy tap in, but his feet weren't set, and the ball's come to him, and it's just kind of sort of ricocheted off his shin. I think it's only a problem because of when it was. It was the 94th minute. And he's going to be having nightmares about it, thinking about
dreaming
it.
about that
I mean,
for the rest
poor
of his
guy.
life.
It was a beautiful
guy.
moment.
Poor guy.
Really beautiful.
He's probably losing sleep over that, you know.
Indeed. Richie was,
Punching the air in happiness. I've never celebrated a miss so much.
Now, Jose Mourinho also confirmed today that David De Gea will be on the bench as opposed to starting lineup for the final. Romero, who has been in quite good nick, is getting the start. However, to cheer David up, he is now the subject of this week's Top 5. Controversial stuff, because David De Gea, we know, is highly sought after by the Galacticos and could well be making a move this summer, David. David, our goalkeepers union specialist, I need an opinion on this. Is this a crazily bold move? Is it loyalty gone mad, or is this the right thing to do, given that he has actually had some decent performances?
Yeah, he's done very well this season. I watched him up at Sunderland a few weeks back. I'm really impressed with his distribution. Really impressed with the way that he dealt with high balls and crossing the box. And the best thing about him, I mean, he's got, 80, 90 odd caps for Argentina. Yeah. And in a classic situation where you have a number one, number two, especially if it's an experienced and young one, the gap between the two is quite wide. Here, there's not a huge gap at all. And I think it's testament to him, that he's not played every week, yet when he's come in, he's looked like he has. He's took no getting used to coming into the games, and this thing of the last few seasons, it's been more of it's been a great bargaining chip for clubs to buy very good second choice keepers. Some clubs, maybe something like Liverpool in the past, they probably haven't had the strongest backup to their first choice keeper. Where now these clubs, Arsenal, Manchester United, Manchester City, they're using the cups as a bargaining chip to sign very good keepers, and they're sticking with it and being loyal to them, because in the past you maybe find they'll play the earlier rounds, and then once it gets a little bit serious, then the first choice keeper's brought back. Now with Manchester City's League Cup final, when Joe Hart was left out, I was not surprised, but I thought they would have brought him back in anyway. As it turns out, Willie Caballero won them the cup in the penalty shootout.
Heroics.
And you know, like I say, you look at Spina and now Romero. I think it's he has to do it, and probably what he has to do now is give him more games running up to the final, so he's not he's not missing out on game time.
Right.
And you know, they know what's happened with De Gea. You know.
Do you think he's gone then?
Yeah, I think so,
do you think it's quite possible then he's played his last game for United?
Well, it depends what Jose does the next couple of weeks, because he's going to be looking. He's got 3 games between now and the Europa Cup final against Ajax. They're going to have a lot more rest time in between, which is going to be a bit of an advantage. So you don't know which way he's going to play the sides. But if I was him, I'd put Romero on goals and make sure, because I mean, if something does happen, if he gets injured, then you know he's always got De Gea to fall back on.
Decent question here from Adam Elmore. As a massive Manchester United fan, I have to ask: is Romero a decent? Romero's a decent standard, but is he good enough to be number one if De Gea does leave? I would say no.
I disagree. I'd say yes.
Okay.
And I think that will he? If you ask me the question, will he be number one next year? I wouldn't say he would. Okay. But if they were left in the lurch somehow and they didn't get anybody in, I'd certainly have no problem with him playing.
Eni, you're a striker, and you're going to have gone through this yourself at some stage where you're not getting a run of games. Is it easy to slip back into it and just hit peak form again?
No.
Is it more difficult, say, for a striker than a goalkeeper?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I wouldn't want to sit here and say it's easy or not. A goalkeeper is a very specific position. But I think as a striker, for me, I always, if you're scoring, if you're playing well, if you're assisting, you can't wait till the next game.
Right.
The worst thing is to play well, not play, and then have to go back up to that performance again. But I think for goalkeepers, it is about consistency as well and repetition. And it's nice to see a bit of loyalty in football. It's gone, hasn't it? Loyalty's extinct almost. So it's nice to see Mourinho. We never know. It might be in his contract.
Right,
a lot of keepers are going to say, look, yeah, I might not play 40 odd Premier League games, but to sign, I need to play at least in the cup. And so that might be a contractual agreement. It might be something Mourinho's sort of given his word and said, look, these are the games and you're going to play all the way to the final. I quite like it. You're utilising the squad. Managers come out with all the quotes about, we've got a great squad and, we're using 23 players, however many players. But,
let's actually see it.
Let's see you do it. Ultimately, they've got to use the squad, because for a team like Man United who are playing Cup games, Premier League games, Europa League games, you do need to use your squad.
I think from a personal point of view, when I was playing, I'd rather have been when I was at Barnsley in the Championship. I'd rather have been in the Championship and not played so many games than played League One or League Two and played 20, 30, 40 games.
Okay.
And I was willing to take that chance that if I did start the season number 2, I was willing to take the chance that it might take an injury or a loss of form for me to get in there, because I just want to play at the highest level and test myself. And even playing at that level, even training's a better level. So you've got to be, you can push yourself every day. You're getting tested every day, not just in games. So it's not a case of sitting on resting on your laurels and just picking up wages, which a lot of people think does happen with goalkeepers.
I feel like they do have a very similar situation. We were talking about Arsenal earlier with Petr Cech and David Ospina. Ospina's been playing pretty much all the Champions League stuff. Cech just coming in and doing the Premier League, and they've been rotating it. It's almost like they do have a contractual agreement.
No, but if Barcelona proved it can work.
Right.
They won the they won the La Liga with Bravo, Champions League with Stegen.
Yep.
And it's worked well. So another teams have seen that and seen that. Like I said, it's that bargaining chip about bringing good keepers in. It's working.
Indeed it is. Now, this week's How Hard stars one of the brightest young talents coming out of the women's game, and someone who'll be looking to stop any when Arsenal take on Chelsea next week. It's Leah Williamson.
The First Lady of How Hard has come through to take on the challenge England under-23 and Arsenal centre-back and midfielder, Leah Williamson. How are you?
Great, thank you. How are you?
Good, good. How are you feeling about this?
Bit nervous, first woman.
Representing?
Yeah. Representing the girls, but still a little bit pressure.
Do you know what? I genuinely think you're going to get a high 60s, and I really would love you to beat everyone on the panel apart from me.
All right, well, we'll give it.
68 miles an hour?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay.
It's a good target to have, I suppose.
Lovely. Ready when you are. Attempt number 1.
I want to say 60s, but I don't know.
It's in the 60s. 65.
Oh, okay, that's nice.
That's very decent. I'm really worried now. I'm really worried you're going to beat me as well.
Okay, 65.
65, that's put you above our very own David Priest. Technique, top bins as well. Consistent, 65.
65, okay, that's good.
Who are your Arsenal heroes?
Kelly Smith and Thierry Henry.
So imagine this is Thierry Henry. You're recreating Thierry Henry's goal against Manchester United where he flicked it up
The flick.
and volleyed it.
I don't think it's beaten 65.
You are right.
64.
64.
Oh,
I believe in you. I
I'm
really
trying
genuinely
so hard
think.
to kick the ball as hard as I can. This is intense.
61. Imagine that penalty that you had to take 5 days after the original penalty. This is your chance to retake that again.
Okay, I hit that pretty hard.
You hit that pretty hard.
I'm gonna take
Leah
extra
Williamson,
long run up.
England and Arsenal centre-back and midfielder steps up for England! Your highest score
This is all.
was 66 miles an hour.
Look how hard I'm grinning with that. I thought I was going to get late 50s, that's good.
your day's been made.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Able to do it on a cold, wet day in London Coney, obviously. And that would put you level with Spurs legend, Ledley King, which is a great effort.
It would have been nice to inch that, wouldn't it?
It
But,
would have
yeah, no, that's fine. I'm happy with
Congratulations.
that, thanks.
Well done.
Fantastic to have the future of the Arsenal ladies on board in the How Hard Challenge, and quite a performance as well. In fact, one of us here has had to take a back seat because Leia is she's marching on past you, David.
She strikes a good ball, and to be fair, I've said this 1,000 times before, and I'll repeat it again.
Technique or something. Right?
Well, I'm more Claudio Bravo than Kasper Schmeichel. You know what I mean?
To be fair though,
I'm like
Hugh,
It's all about accurate distribution.
Phil Mickelson, my short game is better than my long game.
to be fair, Hugh, when that 66 was running, you did do a lap of the studio celebrating that she didn't top you.
Dude, you've got to stop calling these cheap shots today, man, because it's going to get deep for you in about 10 minutes' time. Right? Now, Annie, you will be facing Leia next week. First things first, she's a great prospect.
Yeah.
What kind of thing are you going to look to be taking advantage of a player like that? I mean, not that you want to give too much of your
Yeah, I
tactical
don't want to
knowledge
give
away.
too much of my secrets away.
Right.
But yeah, Leah plays across the back, so she can play centre half, she can play on the left or the right. Yeah, I think against Arsenal, it's all about tactics. You know, they have a tactician and a manager.
Are you confident
and
going
speed,
into the game?
Yeah. Yeah, we have to be. I think, you know, with the spring series, you can't afford to lose a game. Because if you drop points, then Man City are breathing down your neck, or Liverpool. So we're going into every game looking to win it.
How many times are you playing each team? Is it twice?
Once.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah.
right.
So it's a bit unique, the way they've done it, but we're playing sort of Wednesday, Sunday. So it's
full on.
It's
Wow.
2 games a week, and Arsenal v Chelsea is always a big game. big
So
game.
are they going to revert back to the winter season then?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So, so the FA decided to change the league to Winter League. I think for commercial reasons, and obviously for the consistency of games. I think for fans, they need to be able to know consistently when women's football's on. And I think last season the scheduling wasn't good enough. And I think now we're at a point now where we do have a fan base of women's football, and now it's about maybe trying to leverage the men's game and the all the eyes that are on the men's game, and trying to gain some more momentum from that. So I think it's a good decision to have a winter league.
Did you enjoy playing the summer, or are you preferring going back to the old system?
Yeah, I like playing in the summer. I think it's nice to have summer holidays back though. So we'll see. I think you know, for me, commercially the game needs to go to another level now. And so let's see whether the Winter League can help that.
Great stuff. It's fantastic to see the women's game getting more exposure, and long may that continue. Now, in the men's game, Chelsea obviously are achieving great things under new boss Antonio Conte. And speaking of the man himself, here he is on Chelsea's title hopes.
This moment is a really good moment for us, because we are so close to reach a fantastic target for us. But we mustn't forget that we have to take 3 points in these 3 games. We must know that to play against West Brom is not easy. This is a really strong team, physical team, very strong, a good coach, and for sure the atmosphere it will be very hot. But yeah, it's important and also in this moment to enjoy, you know.
It's very difficult not to be impressed with what he's instilled at Chelsea in such a short amount of time, and the belief that the players obviously have in the guy is very impressive. It's tonight that they could lift the title. It's happened in kind of a strange way as well, because after that Arsenal win, the 3-0 victory, he's tactically switched things completely, everyone's bought into it, and it's worked. You get to see a lot of them. The guys, Conte himself, I'm sure you're impressed yourself. What kind of thing is he doing that's so different, and why is everyone buying into it?
Well, I think first of all, even before he became Chelsea coach, he was fantastic at the Euros with Italy,
Right.
with this formation. So clearly he's almost created a formation that really works for him. He's very clear about what he wants from each player. And he's mastered a formation that actually is quite new to the world of football. All of a sudden you're seeing a lot of teams playing three at the back. I'm not sure the season before Conte came that was necessarily the case. So I think for professional football players, when you have clarity from your coach, you have an intensity in the coaching, and you have a guy that frankly is a really nice guy, from what I've heard. It's a good combination for players. I think the season before, the relationship between Mourinho and the players broke down, particularly with players like Eden Hazard, who, when Eden Hazard's on form, you know, you're likely to win the league. You brought in, you know, N'Golo Kante, who, you know, is award-winning now, and you know, so he's brought in players that fit that formation, and I think the players have just really bought into it. They're one of the fittest teams in the league. I've got to say that as well, and I know that as well because we've been doing a lot in pre-season that is based on Kante's.
No way.
And it is.
So he's working you.
Well, he isn't,
or at least
but I
like
think, as I said, you know, we share a lot of facilities and we share a lot of expertise, if you like, and the fitness side of it. You know, if you are fit, you've got to be fit in that formation, because the wing backs are key in this formation. So the likes of Victor Moses, the likes of Alonso, they are the width of the team, and they have to get up and down. You've got N'Golo Conte, who can run for two, three people in the midfield. So I think the combination of all those factors makes Chelsea one of the best teams.
What about the strikers?
Well, I think actually saying that, I think they've been lucky for Diego Costa to stay fit all season, because actually when you look at it, when Diego Costa's not in the team, who's going to play? They've got Batshuayi, who hasn't really been, you know, hasn't really done much. Other than that, there's no one else up there who has the presence and the goals of Costa. So I think Costa, who had hamstring injuries prior to this season, he stayed fit, and that's been really, really important, because I think without Costa, it probably would have been a different Chelsea team.
It's quite interesting hearing that, because there's obviously rumours about Costa leaving, or at least he's been offered a place in China in the Super League. Outrageous money, and it's quite likely, at least anyway, that Chelsea are going to have to bring in a top striker. There's been Morata links, there have been Lukaku links. Griezmann. I mean, these are big names, right? Where do you expect Lukaku, I mean, Chelsea, is that the best thing for him to do, to go back to the place that kind of deserted him?
Yeah, I think that's he's still got close links with Emanalo there as well, and I think that's where his heart is. You know, he's probably it was arranged for him to leave, but he wants to go back there. He's gone away and he's proved himself. He's proved they were wrong to sell him. Now he's going to go back there and just sort of load it up a little bit.
And I think Chelsea need that kind of striker.
Yeah.
I think, you know, when you look at someone like Antoine Griezmann, great striker, one of the best in the world, but is he a Chelsea striker in that sense? They've always had that Didier Drogba, you know, that big presence up front. Now Costa. I think they need a Lukaku, you know, a reference point up front, someone that can play off the likes of Hazard and Pedro and Willian. So I think Lukaku would be a great fit, and as you said, you know, probably has said it over and over again that wants to be playing in the Champions League, wants to be playing for a bigger club. So I think he would be a great signing.
Can this side do anything in the Champions League next season? That's from Jordan Jones, who's got involved.
Chelsea? I mean, any.
I think so, yeah. I think, as I said, you know, Conte is a great tactician, and I think when you look at the teams in the Champions League that do well, the Spanish and the Italian teams, he will know sort of how to beat those kind of
but
teams.
They've not had to deal with anything European this season.
Yeah,
so
yeah. So
that's
I mean,
going to be extra matches.
But it's a catch-22, isn't it? Because you want to get in the Champions League, but when you don't play in it, you're better off for it.
Exactly.
So yeah, it'll be. I think the second season after a championship-winning season is always the hardest one.
And there's also the question of whether Conte will be there himself. You know, there's talk of this move. Yeah, there's talk of the Inter already approaching his backroom staff. 12.5 million euros a year, which is not to be sniffed at, considering what was he on, 3-4 now?
I have actually also heard, however, that he's been looking for schools for his daughter and that he's perfectly happy. You know, he just wants to see the work that he's put in rewarded, and rightly so.
Yeah, and I think that Chelsea would be remiss of them not to either make sure that he stays there by giving him a new contract, but making sure that they have somebody Italian at the front there, because there's a great piece this week by Roy Smith in the...
Cheeky plug for you there, Roy.
Yeah, and it was about the management, the school of managers that they have in Italy. And now you look across in France, in Germany, you've got Ancelotti, who'll win the Bundesliga, Spartak Moscow, Italian manager. Obviously, there's going to be Italian managers winning the Serie A, and last 2 seasons of the Premier League with Ranieri and Conte.
Wow.
And it just shows, and he's on about, how tactically aware the managers are, and the shift and change formations. It's simply down to that school of management not focusing on one type of football. It's not a Cruyff school or a Guardiola school of football where this is the way we play and there's no real adjustment. They go there and they're taught to think for themselves, and they're given problems, and so people come out of that. They're not just disciples of one way of playing football, and they come up with and solving problems all the time.
And I think the key as well is people can't figure out how to beat it. I think that's what makes the formation so great, because formations are changeable. Depending on who you're up against, you can change the formation. But the key for me is that no one has figured out how to crack it, and actually whoever they play. Whether it's a lower league team, a team in the lower end of the league, or a top team like Man City, they're still tactically more astute or tactically ahead. I think that's what's most interesting about the three at the back. You see Tottenham playing it now, with Dyer sometimes pushed further on as a sweeper rather than dropping deep. So other teams are trying to steal the idea.
Wenger.
And
Wenger has gone in.
Has Wenger gone back three as well?
We've been playing 3 at the back for a few games now, yeah.
Unsuccessfully. Yeah.
I mean, hang on, Eddie. Hang on. We were getting on well.
I would love to comment on that, but I can't.
No, you can't.
No, I can't.
You can't.
No, I can't.
What was the score, mate?
I don't
That's
want to talk
right.
about it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, ahead of a very busy weekend in the race for the top 4, Jurgen, Jose, and Arsene all took time out and went for a little drive.
Wenger, get in, I will give you a lift.
Thank you.
No problem. Where are you going?
Well,
Oh, wait. It's Klopp. Klopp, you need a ride? Get in.
Thank you, Jose. I really need to go shopping in this moment.
Where is your car?
The engine blew. Yeah, I drove it really hard at the start, and it just went boom.
Yours, Wenger?
Mine, I filled it with a lot of bad petrol over the years, and now it does not get me where I want to go, so...
This thing? It's cost me a lot of money, and it's not performing very well, I can tell you.
Oh, there is no value in today's market, for sure.
Anything coming your way, Wenger?
No, it is good.
Okay. Wenger! How did you not see that?
I didn't see it.
Jesus. Where am I dropping you off?
Well, I have not made a decision yet, so...
So we're going to drive around in circles, going nowhere, waiting for you to make a decision. Is that it?
Yes, I believe that will be the right thing to do. I'm surprised you drive a small car like this, Jose.
And why is that?
I don't know. I always felt you would be driving a bus.
Very funny, very funny. Get out.
Oh,
Get out of the car.
come on. It's just a joke.
You said you need to go shopping.
Oh, come
Here
on.
you go. Southampton Football Club.
Maybe in this moment I'll have a quick look.
Wenger, get out of the car. Wenger, out. Nobody wants you in the car. Get out of the car.
Okay.
Damn thing. I don't believe this. 90 million this car cost me. 90 million. Piece of shit. I prefer not to speak.
Now with news on the voting results so far, and also some questions that you've been leaving in the comment section, it's Richie on the social.
It is, yeah. Our vote this week concerns who would you love to see missing out on the top 4. And there are only 3 choices because there is no point including Manchester United in this. So if you're involved on Facebook, hit the laughing face for Arsenal, the sad face for Liverpool, the wow face for Manchester City. Get involved as well on Twitter using the hashtag 888FFL. There is one team that is miles in the lead. I'm not going to say who it is. And a couple of the comments. Chris Hughes says, United won't qualify anyway and then will lose the Europa League tragically. Watch Jose blame everyone. Adidas Pool plug, priceless. Cheers, mate. Ian Ahmed Thornycroft says, I'm an Arsenal fan but would love to see Arsenal not qualify for UEFA Champions League next season simply because we are not ready to compete. Basically, we are just spot fillers, which sucks. I agree. And finally, I'm really looking forward to fitting you in my pocket next week, Annie. That's from Leah Williamson. I made that one up completely.
Now, it's time for this week's Transfer Chat. Okay, first up, we have got some very interesting news in the Atletico Madrid and Diego Simeone are apparently interested in Jamie Vardy. Who would have thunk it? Alexis Sanchez also a target for Simeone out there, but Vardy as a striker in La Liga, could he set Spain on fire? Annie, what do you reckon?
Possibly, actually.
I get the feeling you're not really buying into this.
I mean, if you look at Diego Simeone, is a bit, he seems to get the best out of his players. They play a certain way. I think they play a similar way to Leicester, actually, in the sense that they're sort of very defensive and then play on the counter. So perhaps, I don't know, but I think Vardy's still yet to continue to prove himself as a great in this league and the Premier League.
So you're expecting him to stay? I get the feeling. Okay.
Do you know what? I can see him there.
You can see him at Atleti.
I can see him there with his Union Jack towel over his shoulder, his tabloid under his arm. I'd see him there.
Yeah, that and the Alexis deal, I'm not really buying into, I've got to say. However, like you said, stylistically, they're quite similar. Although, I get the feeling that Atleti are being found out of late, and I don't know whether they would look to change things. Simeone himself has been linked to the Inter Milan job as well, so there may be a change in
got a comment. Yeah, got a comment regarding this already. Vardy at Atletico Madrid would be a repeat of Jonathan Woodgate at Real Madrid. Yes, remember when that was actually a thing? That's from Carl Thomas. Yeah.
I mean, it was a thing. He wasn't actually that bad. He just had a really bad
didn't he score one or two own goals and then get sent off?
Yes, he scored an own goal.
I think
he scored an own goal and then got sent off, didn't he?
But you know, in all honesty, I would love to see him there.
I would love to see more English players abroad in general.
Exactly, and I don't just mean like sort of Galacticos like Beckham and people like that. Well, there was that period with Owen and Woodgate. But I genuinely would like to see him out there just to see how he would do. Because I think people might be surprised.
I mean, it would be nice as well. I think people, I don't know, in England we should perhaps be encouraging players to spread their wings a little bit.
I think Jamie Vardy is one of those players though that needs to be the big fish in the small pond. You know, can't be the small fish in a big pond. I think some players are like that. They can't, they need to be the central focus of a team, the reference, and mentality-wise. I think even Jamie Vardy not leaving.
Do you think that's why he didn't move after winning the league?
I think if he went to a bigger club, the expectation level on him would change, and he's not the big fish anymore. There's an air about him. I get that he needs to be that reference point for the team. Mahrez, I think Mahrez is different in the sense that he could go to a Barcelona or Real Madrid because he's just that kind of player that can fit into creatively into any team. I think Vardy, mentality-wise, needs to be that player for a team.
I think age is a big difference as well. I think Mahrez is 2 or 3 years younger than him, isn't he? And I think if Vardy was 25, 26, there'd be a great case for him going away to a club, if it was Atleti, to go and enhance his game. And so maybe he's go and spend 2 years there, whether he played every week or not, it would enhance him and make him a better player so he comes back, a more rounded player than what he is now. But at the minute, he's 29, coming up to 30, I don't think he's got enough time to do that.
Does that help with the international setup as well, when you go back to the England squad? Do you share information with the people? No, not at all.
No, actually. I think obviously there's always banter and you've got that sort of club rivalry, but actually when you get into the England team, particularly in the women's game, we are very much told to keep club football out of it. So you don't even have those conversations because it can affect team dynamics, it can affect your focus on. I don't know whether it's the same in the men's game, but I watched something recently, Steven Gerrard and I think it was Steven Gerrard and John Terry, a face-to-face interview, and they were talking about the rivalries. That they hated each other when they played for England, because that's just the level of intensity it gets to when you're playing for rival clubs.
Yeah, you look at Spain. Look at it last week, it was El Clasico when Ramos had been sent off.
Yeah.
And him and Piqué chirping each
Right.
other. And there's obviously a dislike there, like, you know.
Yeah, they're tweeting each other afterwards as well. It's all kicked off online. In other news, Ronald Koeman has suggested that Ross Barkley has 1 week to make his decision about whether he's going to sign his new Everton contract or not, and he's being linked to Manchester United, Tottenham, Arsenal. There's a few clubs that would be interested in him. Another player with a lot of potential, perhaps hasn't reached his peak. Is Everton the right place for him, where he can again get consistent game time? He's had faith put in him, or does he want to be looking to make a bigger move at this stage of his career? What do you reckon, David?
I think the Spurs noise is one that won't go away. I think maybe that could be dependent on Dele Alli, what happens with him. You know, they're always in the market for that type of attacking player.
Hang on a second. Can we actually see Dele Alli moving already?
Yeah, certainly.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, wow,
Just sign a
incredible.
5-year contract.
I mean, you'd have to pay a lot of money to prize Dele Alli from Spurs right now. Spurs fans would be rioting, surely.
But I mean, this is it. We spoke about Pochettino, and that he wouldn't want to move because he's got a bigger picture and he wants to be there for the long-term plan. Okay, you can say that. But if somebody bigger did come in for Dele Alli, then
What about Ross? Again, like Koeman seems to be a fantastic manager who has that financial backing behind him now that there's new ownership at the club. They could be going places. Yeah. Does he want to stay and be part of that, or bigger things? Is that what's on the horizon for this guy?
Well, I think the fact that sort of Ronald Koeman at the start of the season, he left him out the side because he didn't think he was doing it for him at that time, and then he's come to a point now where he's thinking, well, it's either sign or you're going to go. And I think that even that shows a little bit of frustration. You think he would handle a younger player a little bit better than that.
Is that what he needs though? Maybe a bit of tough love.
Yeah, perhaps. But I think it's maybe I'm reading too much into it. But I think that's, I don't know whether Ronald Koeman is either thinking, well, if you leave, it's no problem. We'll get a few quid for you, and then I'll get somebody else in. Because, like I said, he hasn't been a mainstay of the team. From his point of view, he probably should stay there and have at least another season, maybe 2 seasons where he's playing every week, because he hasn't had that. And we talk about proving yourselves, proving yourself as a player. But they can, and he can do that anywhere. But surely it's better to do it at a place where you're already embedded in there. You know the rest of the players, and it's easy for him to do that.
Let's say you were Ross Barkley's agent. What would you be advising him to do right now?
I think I'd advise him to stay. I think at a club like Everton, where the fans are really passionate, he's a Scouser. He could be a legend there. I think sometimes when there is frustration about performance, the sort of instinct is, oh well, I'm going to leave or I'm going to go somewhere else and do better. But that doesn't necessarily always happen. So I think Ross Barkley just needs to find a level of performance at Everton where he is that key player week in, week out. For some reason he hasn't been able to do it, and he's not really in the England, he's in and out of the England setup as well. So, and he's such a talented player. I've never understood why Ross Barkley kind of hasn't reached the levels of someone like Dele Alli, who's younger than him.
Well, I mean, on the international stage, he gets called up all the time, and they don't give him any minutes.
Yeah, but you see, they don't give him any minutes, perhaps because he hasn't reached that level in the Premier League where you go, Ross Barkley has to play. There are certain players on the team, like Dele Alli, who are one of the first names on the team sheet for England because of their level of performance in the Premier League. So, but I just don't think Ross Barkley moving to another club is going to make him play any better. He has to find it at Everton.
Yeah, and I think again, I might be reading too much into this, but the incident in the bar a few weeks ago, that might have a part to play in it as well, because it's sometimes when you're playing in at a club in a city like Liverpool where there's a lot of focus on you, it's a bit of a goldfish bowl. He might want to be able to go where he wants when he wants. Where at the minute he probably feels he can't do that.
Change sometimes good, and another guy involved in transfer rumours galore, as is going to be the case throughout the summer as we move into silly season, as I like to call it, is Danny Welbeck on the fringes of the England side, just breaking back into the Arsenal side regularly after a serious-ish knee injury. Galatasaray apparently interested in a £16 million deal. Now, I mean,
I would love to see him go to Galatasaray.
Why?
Because it would stop him from scoring against Man United every single time he plays for Arsenal.
Oh, it's fantastic, isn't it? How did you enjoy it? Talk me through it.
I love the fact that he celebrated.
Talk me through it, Rich. Don't go quiet on me. I know you love it when Welly bangs one in the top corner.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
Against United. Again. As a striker, are you thinking that he should see this kind of Arsenal thing through now that he's embedding himself into the side? I think the squad, the fans have taken to him well. He's even got that kind of second-hand emotion that Richie and his fellow United fans are going to give him. Or would you be tempted to go and see what you could achieve at Galatasaray, where he probably will win the league and be involved in Champions League?
Well, I think Danny Welbeck's barely played for Man United, really. I mean, he's since he signed, I think 2 years ago, he's been injured for the vast majority of the time. So his career at Manchester United, at Arsenal, has barely even sort of started or been able to develop. Yeah. So I certainly don't think leaving is going to help, or is it going to take his career to the next level? I don't think it will, particularly if it's a club like Galatasaray who, their fans are very, very intense. The pressure, there's a lot of pressure for somebody like Danny Welbeck to have. So I think he needs to just focus on developing his career at Arsenal first.
I mean, Arsenal fans are pretty intense. I mean,
yes,
pretty intense.
When he was at United, was he injured as much as what he is now, or is it the Wenger curse?
Long spells, but not as often.
Because it seems to be a bit of a habit that Arsenal players get injured quite a bit.
They do. It's like an Arsenal DNA, they call it.
Yeah, exactly. So is he better off getting away because of that?
I mean, you're really pushing my buttons.
It's a genuine question.
In all honesty, I mean, I'd actually love to know what you guys think Arsenal should be doing in the transfer window. Should it be replacing a striker, or do we need a wide?
Personally, I think they need to get a new manager.
Wow.
And
with those hard-hitting truths.
No, but that's not any disrespect to Arsene Wenger.
Right.
Arsene Wenger's a Premier League legend, but there comes a time when you've got to leave. You've got to. I don't understand why.
The club shuts at 2.
I don't understand why it's a continuous conversation. I think, as Alex Ferguson did, he knew there was a time to leave, and for the next generation of manager to come in, the next generation of players to come in. We've seen how difficult that's been for Manchester United, but now they have a manager in Jose Mourinho who hopefully is going to do that. I think Arsene Wenger is being very selfish in that he doesn't. I think the club needs change. The fans need it, the players need it. The likes of Alexis Sanchez getting frustrated is because there's no progression. The mentality clearly isn't there. The winning mentality isn't there. So I think, forget players, I think the manager needs to go.
Big talk.
Interesting comment as well from a Liverpool fan, actually. As a neutral, I'd like to see someone other than Arsene Wenger at the club. Arsenal need change, and I'd like to see them playing good football again. From a Liverpool fan.
The shots, unreal shots.
Do you not agree? Do you not think that the club needs,
I think that
boost?
He's a romantic.
What's actually happened is that Arsene Wenger is so integral to the side, so integral to the club, I should say, that it's gone a little too far now.
So was Alex Ferguson. I don't understand this whole. He has to be part of the club.
I actually think Arsene Wenger has a lot more control than Alex Ferguson would have done when he left. In that, say Arsene Wenger was to walk away, it's quite possible that everything would kind of fall apart.
But see, I think that fear is part of the problem, because I don't think it will. There's loads of managers in the world that could be asked the manager.
Ultimately, right, change is inevitable. Nothing lasts forever. Life works in cycles. I welcome change. However, I've got a great amount of respect for the man, and not only because of what he's achieved, but because he is, to me, an icon. He's a philosophical, spiritual, very wise, intellectual, footballing obsessive. However, like you say, fresh impetus is needed. Tactical ideas that we haven't really approached are needed, and I think things
Winning is needed. You haven't won anything.
Right, we're going in. Hang on.
Sorry.
Okay, right. I'm being told don't get sucked in. Now he has guided Newcastle back to the Premier League. Rafa Benitez, welcome back to the big time, my Spanish son. Incredible scenes, but can he bring the real glory days of Shearer and Asprilla back? On Tyneside, our very own Dion Fanning decided to take a closer look.
For a manager who is said to be as cold as ice, Rafa Benitez gets a lot of love from supporters. But even Chelsea fans might one day acknowledge the job he did in helping to create the environment where Jose Mourinho could come along and do his thing, before Jose Mourinho did his other thing. Newcastle supporters have no doubts. Benitez has made mistakes in the past, but in staying at Newcastle last summer and again this year, he has made a good decision. Of course, Mike Ashley has made an even better one. He has reportedly made promises to Benitez about money to spend, and if he wants things to be harmonious, or at least relatively harmonious, he's going to have to keep them. Benitez can do what the supporters of the club believe should be possible at Newcastle United, and that's why the fans have faith in him. Despite his reputation, Benitez isn't a cold man. He's simply not able to make small talk, and nobody should be condemned for that. When John Joe Shelby was preparing to sign for Liverpool, Benitez showed the player's family around the training ground. He spent some time explaining to Shelby's mother how best to counter Stoke's long ball game. Those players who want a manager who will ask them how everything is at home will invariably be disappointed by Rafa. But there are plenty who have worked with him, enjoyed it, prospered, and found it beneficial. They didn't get small talk, but they saw what the Newcastle supporters have seen. Rafa is a man with a restless and relentless obsession with football. It gets him into difficulty sometimes, but it's what supporters in a city like Liverpool or Newcastle understand. And if Mike Ashley doesn't deliver on his promises, Rafa won't waste time on small talk when he tries to find out why.
Right, fantastic to have Newcastle back in the Premier League. Looking forward to that. However, obviously with Mike Ashley, there's always a little bit of controversy, financial irregularities, or just an unwillingness to properly invest. However, I think they spent 60 million in the last window, right? Yeah. He's going to need a lot more than that to transform that squad. I'm looking at that squad and I'm not seeing them surviving the Premier League. Am I totally off there? Burnley have done it, or at least they're very close to doing it.
Yeah, a very different side. I think they've got some young players in Newcastle, but I think in manager, as a Sunderland fan, it breaks my heart to say this, but I'm very jealous of them.
Oh, sad times for you, mate.
Yeah, but it is just simply because he'd be a manager that I'd love to be at Sunderland at this moment in time. I think regardless of who they recruit, you always know that you're going to have a chance with Rafa Benitez. And when he took over, probably about a year ago, this time last year, I could really see, even though they got relegated, I said to myself, with Rafa in charge, I'd see him come straight back up and getting back into Europe the year after. I'll probably get a lot of stick for saying that, but that's how much I think of Rafa Benitez as a manager. You're right what you say. This team isn't good enough at the moment. Whether it's people being saying 70 million, that he wants 100, nobody really knows. Mike Ashley's come out and said they'll give him all the money generated, anything that comes in, he'll get it back. They have got a few players like Richie this season's been outstanding. They probably need a goalkeeper, another centre half. Dwight Gale's he looked very good in the Championship, but can he do it in the Premier League? He scored a few goals with Crystal Palace, but they do need a lot of strengthening. Like I said, their trump card is the manager.
Indeed, Rafa Benitez, obviously with so much experience at the top level, he is going to be putting faith into what is just a fervent support up there. They are crazy about their football. So it's great to have them back in the league. Very disappointing that we're losing possibly another 2 North-East sides. Do you think there's a link between the North-East not performing and the South performing?
In Middlesbrough's situation, when we've spoke about this before, that they've got a great setup upstairs. They've got a great owner who backs the managers. Karanka this year is paid for his sort of. He's been very safe. They've not conceded a lot of goals, but that's not going to keep you up. You've got to score goals in this division. And when they brought Bamford in, they brought Gestede, and they haven't done for them in the second half of the season.
Gested, who holds one of the most abysmal records. Listen, Rudy, I'm sorry, mate, if you're watching this, but I am shocked to hear that you have played for 3 Premier League clubs and scored 1 goal, and I mean, you're getting relegated with everyone, mate. It's not a good look. Quick thoughts on Newcastle going back up. Where do you think they'll finish next year if they do get the investment that Ashley is promising Rafa?
No, I think Rafa Benitez is the key for Newcastle. I really respect the fact that he went down to the Championship and built a team and brought them back up. You know, because it is Rafa Benitez. You know, this guy's managed.
He could have walked away
Real
from
Madrid.
that.
He's won Champions League with Liverpool. He could have had an ego and said, "Oh, you know, I'm too good for the Championship," but he didn't. And I think for the first time in a long time, the Newcastle fans have a manager that they feel is bigger than them. You know, I think for a lot of the time, the fans have been bigger than the manager. So I think it's looking up for Newcastle. I think what's going to be important is who they bring in, the players. But I think they will attract players because Rafa Benitez is manager. And so I can see them staying up very easily. I don't know about Europe. That might be too, you know, because the competition for Europe is so great now. Even for teams like established teams like Manchester United and Arsenal.
Yeah. There's not enough space for everyone anymore.
He's got a very good cup record though. When he's at Liverpool, Chelsea as well. You know,
Right.
so it's the Sunderland, Middlesbrough, and Newcastle. They're starved of any sort of silverware over the last forever really. Not since back in the 50s and 60s when Sunderland was successful. But so it's something that's I can definitely see happening, that they can bring some silverware back to Tyneside.
Spare a thought for David. I can see he's close to depression right now. Right? Rafa lifting the Championship. I mean, these are painful scenes. However, you got a win last week, and
everything's all right.
That's about all you're getting. Now it's time for this week's betting battle with 888sport. Every week our panellists are given £10 each by 888sport to place a single bet on one game that they think they're going to pick a winner from. And as you can see, it's not been going that well, lads. Talk me through this one, Richie.
I was going to say, how many weeks in a row do you reckon? In fact, what percentage do you think you've won money like this season out of the 30 odd games you've bet on so far?
No. Let's not ask. Let's rephrase that question by going, how much of that £354 have you won?
Once. He's won once.
No, I won twice. 2 big uns as well. 2 fourfolds, lads.
What do you reckon this weekend? Who have you gone for?
This weekend I'm going for Chelsea win tonight. I think they're going to wrap up the Premier League title today.
Must be nice.
I think Arsenal are actually going to continue and on their little winning run, and United are going to get a draw. Can I get the odds for those 3?
9-1.
Altogether 9-1.
9-1.
Fantastic.
All together.
Take
David,
it.
thoughts?
I'm going to go for, in the Championship playoffs, I'm going to go for Fulham to beat Reading. Yeah. Simply because I've watched Reading quite a bit this season, and as well as they've done at times, I've not really been overly impressed with them. So and Fulham has been opposite, been really impressed with this season. And in the other semi-final playoff, I'm going to go for Huddersfield to beat Sheffield Wednesday. Simply because I'm an ex-Barnsley player and I'd like to see Sheffield Wednesday get beat.
Fair play, and those odds are 3-1. And Annie, of course, you've got an interest in the Fulham match as well because your brothers will be playing.
Yeah. Bro will be playing for Fulham, and I hope they get to Wembley for the playoff final. I'm going to be very nervous watching him. So obviously, I'm expecting them and wishing them to win, and hopefully Chelsea win the league tonight.
Well,
Phew. Fantastic. Best of luck to everyone. That is about all for this time on this week's betting battle. Now, there's still a little bit more for us to go through. Like you said, you're going to be at Fulham tomorrow. Championship playoffs are very exciting. This is probably the most exciting time for me of the season as far as the Championship goes. Who else have you got going through? Brighton, obviously, very unlucky not to actually lift Championship trophy, dramatic circumstances, but playoff-wise, who have you got?
Yeah, I'd probably go for Fulham, really. You know, them and Sheffield Wednesday, they finished the season well. Huddersfield, they dropped off a little bit and they made some changes to rest the players, and I don't know whether that, you know, at this point in the season, whether that little bit of rest is actually going to do them that much good, simply because sometimes it can be best to have more continuity and going into these games, you know, high in confidence. And some of the finals, playoff finals, are iconic. You know, you think of
Watford, Leicester is the one that springs to mind.
Oh my gosh.
The year after, year after I left Sunderland, it was Sunderland against Charlton, and they lost on penalties. And Michael Gray missed a penalty, and it's there's so much at stake in those games. You would think they'd be very dull affairs, and nobody want to give anything away, but they're anything but.
Completely the opposite, right? They call it the most expensive or most lucrative game in world football. The opportunity to cash in on what is becoming just such an expansive financial market in the Premier League is frightening. And now the level of the Championship is like almost everyone, if not everyone, has been in the Premier League or they're very close to being in the Premier League. So great stuff, really looking forward to that. There's also a cup final happening tomorrow. Your old team Birmingham playing City.
Yes.
Who have you got going there?
Oh, I don't really care, to be honest.
Wow. Okay, right. The loyalty.
We're not in it.
No,
we're not in
I
it.
hear
So
you. I hear you.
Great
actually,
answer.
I honestly, generally don't want to know who's won until like Monday.
Right, Arsenal.
Because it's just painful.
If there is anyone from Arsenal watching, right, this is the mentality that we need to instill in the boys, guys. This is it. You're either winning or you're not even interested.
Exactly.
Right?
Well, that, I mean,
fantastic stuff.
I love that.
It's been an absolute pleasure, but I still need to know who you'd love to miss out on top four, guys. You've been leaving your comments. Richie's got the answer.
I have got the answer, yeah. Who would you love to see miss out on the top four? Manchester United not even involved in the vote. What is the point? They are missing out. They're going to miss out on top four.
I'll tell you what the point is, right? You didn't want to mug yourself off. That's what it is. And you've avoided it. Nice, but don't think I've missed that one, right?
I mean, I can't even argue with that. Okay, so the vote is in. In third place with a total of 24% of the vote is Manchester City. In second place with a total of 25% of the vote is Liverpool, which means that over half of you would love to see Arsenal miss out on the top four with 51%. Wow, I love you all.
It's nice to
Spot
see
on.
Arsenal come first for a change, isn't it?
That's true.
Yeah?
I don't
First
know
in
how
the
to deal
vote,
with
last
these
in
guys.
hearts.
I'm
Love
struggling
that.
with the banter today, lads. And we're on a winning run. This isn't how it's meant to work. Listen, unbeaten run that took United to 6th is finally over. Arsenal, mate, you've done yourself and all of us proud. Perhaps it's time to just kick on after we beat Chelsea in the final.
Can I just say, who else is really surprised at Man City? Like, they've just become this average.
Wow,
You know,
the shots being fired left, right, and centre.
At the beginning of the year, at the beginning of the season, they looked like they looked out
They
of
went
this
on that
world.
10
It was
match
like,
unbeaten
wow,
winning run.
Guardiola. But now it's like, well, they're barely kind of. I mean, they seem to do really well, winning 4-0, and then the next time they'll play against another team and draw 1-1. It's just Guardiola hasn't seemed to have really got the team performing at that level that they were at the beginning of the season. So I'm surprised to even be seeing them within sort of talking about are they going to make top four, because you expected them at the beginning of the season to be winning
Definitely.
the league.
People were saying that Guardiola was going to waltz through the Premier League, that it would be a canter, and it's been anything but that. However, defensively, they've certainly lacked, and I think missed the likes of Company. So perhaps with a big window coming up, we'll see the best of him in City next season.
Yeah, plus there's rumours of him going back to take Valdez from Middlesbrough and bring him back to, well, not back to Man City, but to bring him back into his fold anyway.
Victor
Valdez.
Victor. I mean, I thought it was all over. Perhaps it isn't. However, this one is. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. We're on Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook, Periscope, Instagram. All of those. I want to thank 888sport for putting this on. All the production team in the background, and of course, our fantastic panel. We will see you this time next week. For now, though, I've been Hugh Izzy. This has been Football Friday Live. You've been gorgeous.